Something like that. So this hangout is live. I'm just gonna say hi to everybody. Everyone who's not watching this, by the way. So my name is Alex Vasquez, and I run a digital creative agency called DigiSavvy. And with me is the irrepressibly cool Otoño Lujan of Strategic Marketing Partners, Los Angeles. And Otoño, why don't you tell our tens of viewers or our zeros of viewers about yourself?
Well, I'm a marketing consultant with Strategic Marketing Partners, and I help my clients get more business. Run pay-per-click advertising campaigns as well as SEO campaigns for clients. And we're going to be talking about measurement today, which is really key to everything I do.
If you can measure it, you can manage it, right?
That's exactly right.
So I think one of the key things to note is, you know, we both deal with a lot of clients on, you know, just different people who are coming into this. They're coming into digital marketing. They don't know what they don't know, or, you know, they've had some particularly bad experiences and things like that. So, you know, what do you find is like one of the top questions you get asked from your clients in your initial consult? Like what sorts of things do they ask you?
Well, just to comment on what you just said, I'll take it as more of a statement. People might say, you know, oh, I did Google AdWords, it didn't do anything, I didn't get any results. And then I follow up with, well, how do you know you didn't get any results? So, well, you know, nobody told me that they found me on Google or saw my ads. So the question is, you know, how do you know where your business is coming from? And so typically it's, people will say, you know, I ask everybody that contacts me how they found out about me. So I think to start out with, it's, the question or the statement is a lack of confusion about whether or not you can even measure what's happening, or that you should be measuring it. In a lot of people's mind, I think it's, if you're marketing your business, you should just get more clients and just, you know, you do something and it equals more clients and that's it. And so, so that's where I think the confusion or maybe the disconnect starts to come from.
Well, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, right? Like someone comes in and ultimately their goal is, I want more business, I want more revenue, I want more sales, what have you, right? And you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And if a lot of times people will come in and I'll get questions, you know, just from clients I'm working with, or, you know, when I'm, you know, consulting at the Small Business Development Center, you know, people will often ask, well, you know, what if I start doing paid ads? And, you know, that's where the question asking stops. You know, it's like, well, right, what if you do you know, paid advertising? You know, what if you do paid search? You know, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And, you know, a lot of times these people want to do it themselves. And, you know, I would never begrudge anyone for doing that. But, you know, there's a lot to unpack as far as I want to accomplish X. And I think if I do Y, I'll get to X. But then there's that whole, there's that bridge, there's that gap, like all the stuff that happens in the middle. Right. So, you know, how do you educate people and say, okay, well, great, paid search will be a great tool for you, you know, but here's some things you need to know. Like how do you educate people on next steps?
Okay, so specifically talking about paid,
I should say.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Or manage their expectations, I should say.
Sure. So one of the things, so speaking specifically about paid search, since you brought it up, I like to give people an example of what the user experience might be like, and I found that to be really effective. So, I pull out my smartphone or get on my laptop and start typing something in into the search bar. So, dentist near me, for example, what comes up if I'm looking for a local dentist, or what would I look for as a potential client of a dentist? So that starts digging into the question of what is the need, what is the understanding from that person's perspective about, or how might they be looking at finding those services? A lot of us are so close to what we do ourselves, it's hard to imagine ourselves not knowing all the terminology in our respective fields. So somebody that needs a root canal done, maybe they search for tooth pain relief. I don't know, but they're looking for a solve.
I like that we're going with the root canal analogy.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, this is good. Well, it's very personal. I had a painful time getting teeth extracted, especially my wisdom ones. But in all seriousness, though, no, you make an excellent point, and I think that in educating them on what their users' experience is, because so often people don't look for themselves. They don't try to find themselves, or they don't ask their friends to do it. They don't ask their family to do it. And how do they know, right? Mm-hmm. Like they know their business, and they forget that. Well, of course I can find my business. And they find their business. Boom, there it is. But they forget that there's a whole other world that they have to consider, and they have to think like a customer.
Right. Exactly. And so when the expectation that, let's say, to touch on another point you brought up is, earlier when we were talking, is getting on the front page of Google. Well, what does that mean? And so I'll tie it back into measurement, but if a business owner types for their name and their name is, ABC Dental Office in Pasadena, how many businesses are named that? So it's going to be real easy, relatively, to show up on the first page of Google for that search term. So then the question is, what are your customers doing? So that goes back to the same question. How are your customers trying to find you? And then what tools do you need in place so that you can actually manage that as an ongoing marketing initiative for your business?
Right. And as far as measuring that, I think, the tool that, pretty much everyone has heard of or is familiar with at least, is Google Analytics, right? Like Google Analytics, their free tool that, measures traffic on your website and everything. And that's a really powerful tool with so much stuff that you can do in it. But, often I find that that's a tool that I'll use and try to educate clients on taking a look at, just to see, what, if they even have it in place at all. First of all, let's assume that, this is someone that does have something in place. More times than not, people are not measuring anything at all. But at least having something in place, the assumption that you do have a thing in place that measures your traffic, it's important to, take a look, I think, at the things that people find important on your site, like different bits of content, pages that tend to get a lot of traffic, things where people are landing, because that can often dispel the things that you think are valuable to your customers. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. And Google Analytics, for people that don't know, it is absolutely crucial. When people say hits is one of the things I hear people like, hits or impressions is, is something that people might be familiar with from even if they launched their website years and years ago. A lot of built-in website analytics tools, they measure impressions, they measure clicks, they measure unique users. Google Analytics does it particularly well, I think, and it is a free tool, as you mentioned. And as you alluded to, it doesn't, if you didn't say it specifically, it doesn't start working until it's installed on your website. So if you want website stats available to you tomorrow, install it today. So if that's one actionable thing that people can take away from listening to this, if, for the 2 or 3 people that might be checking this out, that would be a takeaway. Make sure that Google Analytics is installed on your site ASAP. And yes, once that is installed, it does take some time, especially if you have a new site and you don't get a lot of traffic. It can take some time to generate some meaningful results. So if you've got, a few visits to your site a day, it's going to take a lot longer than if you're getting thousands of visits per day, or tens of thousands of visits per day. You have a lot more to work with, in other words.
Well, and I feel like now is a good time to tell you that we have absolutely nobody watching, and that's okay, because I'm picking up what you're putting down, and you're a very cheerful fellow with a lot to share. So, but I think the important thing is that is to really drill into people that, hey, if you want any insight into the efforts that you're going to be paying for, like the money, the effort, all that stuff, if you want any sort of information on it, you have to measure it. And starting with Google Analytics, I think that's a good way to do that. There's obviously a lot of advanced tools out there to do it, but often I just find that Google Analytics is a good starting point. Do you have, like, depending on what kind of clients you're working with, do you have other metrics that you look at, whether they're in Google Analytics or other tools that you might use? What are some things that you might take a look at to help clients dispel their own misconceptions and educate them?
Yeah, so I could go deeper into Google Analytics, but I won't. I'll just touch on a couple of things within Google Analytics and then talk to you about another tool. So one of them is acquisition. So learning where people are coming to your site from. That's useful because if you are, let's say, advertising on Yelp, you will get Yelp statistics on the business owner's back-end dashboard, but it only gives you a certain amount of information. It tells you how many clicks to your website. But do you know what they did after they got to your website? So looking at the acquisition kind of filter will let you see, okay, 20 people this month clicked on my website. Those 20 people actually on average spent 5 minutes on my website and they clicked on 15 pages. That's really valuable information. You could do the same with pretty much any referral source, or is it organic traffic or direct traffic or paid advertising? So that's during the quality of that engagement at a kind of bird's eye level. The other part of it is content, as you mentioned earlier. What kinds of content are people engaging with the most? What's the most relevant? What do people care about while they're on your site? And landing pages and bounce rate is also important. Which pages are people coming into your site on, or where are they entering from? And which pages are turning people away almost instantly? Which ones are repelling people? Kind of the reverse magnet effect. Anyways, those are just some of the insights you can glean from Google Analytics. But then more qualitative ones, and this is valuable for you, and I know you use these tools as well as a designer and somebody who's invested in UI and UX design. Crazy Egg, for example, heat maps and kind of click tracking. software. Inspectlet is one I like because it's free and it gives you a sample. It gives you approximately four to five per day. It does 100 a month on the free plan. And what I like about Inspectlet in particular is it will give you recorded sessions of these anonymized visits via IP address, and it will show you how that person is navigating your site, from what type of, what does their view look like? Are they on a MacBook Pro, or are they on an iPhone, or are they on a Windows machine? Are they running Internet Explorer? What is their experience on the site? And you can play it back at up to 8 times speed, which gives you, it's kind of like creating a focus group for your website.
Absolutely.
And you can filter those results by certain pages. If you want to know how effective a given page is, like a contact page, for example, you can filter all the results by any visit that included a visit to the contact page, and really zero in on what the experience is for users, because that, just like, as we started off, we use our websites differently than users will, if we go there at all after we build them. We experience it differently than our prospective clients and visitors do.
Right, and you bring up some like really key points to measure, and these are things that I think a lot of businesses, business owners, especially small businesses, probably overlook, or at least that's been my experience. People, a lot of times, people don't have something up already, or if they do, they haven't really considered how people use the site, because your audience, your customers will never fail to impress you with the ingenious ways that they use with the ways they use your product or they use your website. So having insight into that is extremely useful. Sure. So, and that's in addition to seeing, okay, great, I know that people are landing on this coupon page that I have set up, which is great because, I'm trying to promote this offer. But, and it's like you said, what do they do after the fact? And there are tools, as you noted, that answer that question. So if you break that down, it's okay, great. So they're getting to my site now. So they're getting to my site, they're doing something on my site. How do I translate that into my goal? So, like, what's the next step in that process? So, they've started to measure it, right? They've started to measure these different things. They sat down with you. They're like, all right, Otoño, I'm gonna heed your advice, and I'm gonna start measuring all this stuff. And they've implemented a couple tools that help them accomplish this. And so they're like, okay, great. So now what do I do to translate that into actionable, into something actionable? Like, how I translate this data into something that's going to help generate more revenue?
Well, I think that's exactly the question. Oh, I got reverb. You hear that?
I think you're having flashbacks, buddy. You're having flashbacks from your fights in the jungle.
Okay.
Walk around and ignore it, like chopping stuff down.
Okay. Well, I'll try to ignore that then. So I think the very question is, what is the business goal? What are you trying to get people to do? So, yes, all right, so maybe you're a dentist and you need people to get more clients, but what if you're a...
I need to, so Otoño, I'm going to stop you right there, sure. All right? We're going to make this easy, okay? I'm a dentist.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing to do, my favorite thing in the whole wide world, is to take a drill and drill people in the mouth. It's a high profit margin for me. Just drilling people right in the mouth and all over the face with a drill. That makes me money and it makes me happy. So now I know that people are coming to my site looking at videos of me drilling people. Great. And they're clicking all around my site, you know, looking at different things, probably pictures of me drilling other people. But
Okay.
they're not contacting me because they think that my technique is a little poor. Crude but effective. It's crude but effective. So as a dentist who likes to drill people in the mouth, how do I take my goal for getting profitable clients who need a root canal? What do I need to do to get them from the point of, hey, this is interesting, I'm informed, to making the purchase, making the appointment, you know, making the phone call? So what's the next thing that we do to get to that point, and how do we measure that?
Okay, so to take this example, imagine you've got a video where you're drilling people in the mouth, right? And you've got, you know, one thing I would look at is how many people, you know, what are the, let's take a look at samples of visits where people are looking at that. How many seconds into the video are they bouncing from that page,
Right.
for example? Or are they staying? You know, we could also look at that in Google Analytics if we have enough visits to that page with the video and dentists drilling people in the mouth. Are people engaged and staying on there for long periods of time? More, you know, where does that sit with other pages on their website?
Right.
And the other question it comes to is that, you know, here we are, you know, a dentist that likes drilling people in the mouth. I have my interest. Now, either I'm looking for clients that like to get drilled in the mouth, which might be a very small niche of clients, okay, which is fine. But as a business owner, I have to decide, do I want to acknowledge my clients' interests, or, you know, or to what extent is that, you know? So do I do what I do? Do I do my passion with no apologies, and look for the people that are interested in being served in the way that I serve them? You know, that's one business decision, right? Are you trying not to laugh? But the other part of it is
the fact that you are going through this and
I'm a really good sport. You know.
No, and I have to apologize for being such a dweeb, but it's really good advice given a very off the wall premise.
Okay.
But no, this is good. So keep going.
Okay.
You know, because there's a certain love of doing it, but then, you know, there's a certain business aspect to it too. If I do more root canals, if I'm drilling more people in the face, and it makes me, you know, like a lot of money for each time I do that, that's a preferred kind of business.
Right.
So, you know, there's videos that I can do measuring how people come in, they look like there's a funnel, right? There's a funnel from point A to point purchase.
Correct. Right. And so if, I mean, what this touches on is that and this happens, you know, maybe not every day, but I mean, I do talk to people where there's a bit of a disconnect between their specific business interests and their clients' interests. And that's the opportunity for finding or developing content that that recognizes their clients' interests.
Right.
Okay, along with their business goals. You know, perhaps this is an opportunity to say, okay, well, I recognize that I like drilling people in the face, but the people are scared. So now we're talking about creating content that is more, you know, perhaps, you know, maybe focusing on the after the benefit of being drilled in the face, you know. You know, having
so measure the after benefit, if we measure the after benefit of that, you bring up an excellent point though, because people do have different ideas of what these services are, right? Like if their mouth is hurting, or if they have symptoms that, hey, I really need to get in here, I need to talk to somebody about this. One part of the funnel is creating the content,
Right.
and measuring that. And, so point A is my mouth hurts. And, there's a video of me, drilling a guy, and I'm like, hey, this guy's in this chair because of that pain that you're having, or whatever the content is. And
Sure.
point B is, if you'd like to come in and have an exam done so we can take a look, we're having a special, come on in, we're having a BOGO. Get drilled in the face once and get another time free.
Right.
And that's point B. And point purchase or point conversion is, okay, I need to get drilled in the mouth, or I need to see if I need to get drilled in the mouth.
Right.
So I need to see this guy, and I need to make a phone call.
Right.
Or I need to fill out this contact form, right? Like some sort of conversion action.
Right.
And, like these different points on the funnel can also be measured too, can't they?
Absolutely. So, as you bring up getting people to subscribe to your email list.
Right.
If you have a particular offer, maybe somebody is doing a lot of research about, what's this process like, getting drilled in the mouth by the dentist. What is it? Is it going to hurt? What do other dentists charge to do the same thing? What's the recovery time like? So what are all the questions that people have that you can address? What are the obstacles or the barriers to earning the trust and the business of this customer? So an email campaign, perhaps you have a drip campaign where, 5 things you need to know or whatever about this particular process. And so people might give up their email in order to receive something of value that will help educate them in the process. So absolutely, you can measure that. That email generation is particularly important where there's a longer sales cycle, especially for stuff like what you and I do. People need some education, and so collecting emails along the way can be measured, and then you can follow up with those things. And yes, email is highly measurable. If you wanted to measure specific conversions like, okay, this hurts really bad and I need to get it addressed today. I'm not going to wait. So a couple of the ways that might look like a couple of things. It might look like a contact form, or even better, because people like to, generally people like to have things available, be in control, and have the full decision-making power at their disposal. So like a scheduling, if you had an online scheduling software, being able to book that appointment yourself by looking at availability, scheduling that appointment, and getting an email confirmation immediately would be a fantastic way to streamline the process of getting that person in the office. Now, maybe that's not feasible for a dentist. Maybe there's other considerations like checking insurance. But the point is that you want to get that person into the office. How are you lowering the resistance to that? And how are you measuring that along the way? The other potential solution might be get a phone call to book an appointment. So having that phone number on the website, and you can track that. So phone call tracking software is available where you can measure not only the calls that you receive, but the calls that you miss, and who called you, what was their number, how did they find you. And this is other analytics or measure. There's another measurement tool that can be highly effective in determining what's working.
Well, so so we're kind of getting to the end of our rope here, but I think more than anything that the big takeaway is for me, people to take away from this is, there's a lot of information that we can scrape, that we can put together and use to inform or to help users take action on your website. And there's a lot of different tools that measure a few different key components of, tracking a lead from the point where they hit your site to the point where they click and call you, or whatever that action is, right? Whatever the goal is.
Correct.
And it's not magic. It's not even science. I mean, sort of, but not really. I mean, these are all things that people can do. It's just not everyone has time, and they need to pay attention to running their business. And this is one of the things that helps them ensure that they continue to have a business to continue running. But I think you bring up some really good points that kind of track how we can measure each part of the funnel,
right,
from start to finish. So with that, Otoño, I would like to thank you very much for doing this Hangouts on Air with me, with all of our non-viewers. And I would say, do you have any, so my question for you is, do you have any closing thoughts, and where can people find you online?
Closing thoughts is just measure, measure, measure. Even if you don't think that you are going to need that data, it's better to have it when you do, or if you do, than not to have it at all. So I say implement wherever possible, especially with free tools that it doesn't make sense not to do it, such as Google Analytics.
Yeah.
So that's the big takeaway, I'd say, from this closing remarks. And I can be found, the short URL is smp.la. That's my website. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and all those, Facebook, everything.
Okay. Well, I have no.
Where are you? Where can people find you, Alex?
Hey, buddy. Look, I don't have a short URL like you. Okay, which, by the way, given your business name, that short URL is perfect, I have to tell you.
Yeah,
but I can be found at Alex J. Vasquez, or at digisavvy.com, or at digisavvy on Twitter, or you can find me in the Trill. It's going down. And if you don't know that song, ask one of your kids. They probably know it. Anyway, but no, I just want to thank you for joining me today. And
thank you for hosting.
Yeah, hey, it's my pleasure. Next time you're hosting, and we're going to talk about the next time we get together, Otoño and I are going to talk about the face drilling business, and just more ways that they can be successful by drilling more people in the face. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, man. Thank you.
All right.